You are here because life has hit you hard, maybe harder than you expected, and you're tired of breaking every time the pressure rises. This audiobook is not motivation. It is mental conditioning. This is training. Today you learn how to build a mind that does not crumble, does not panic, and does not fold when life becomes unfair. Over the next hours, you will break your old patterns, rebuild your emotional discipline, and rise as someone who cannot be shaken, not by people, not by stress, not by failure, not by life. If you're ready to become the person who never breaks, the training starts now. Chapter 1. Stop breaking at the first sign of pressure. Pressure. You feel it every day. Deadlines, expectations, setbacks, people judging you, moments that demand strength you don't think you have. And here's the truth most people never want to admit. You're not breaking because life is too hard. You're breaking because your mind has never been trained to stay standing when the world pushes back. Pressure is not the enemy. Your emotional fragility is. Pressure is neutral. Pressure is information. Pressure is feedback. Pressure is the signal that says it's time to rise. It's time to grow. It's time to build the version of you that doesn't run. But you've been taught the opposite. You've been conditioned to escape discomfort. You've been trained to avoid resistance. You've been told that ease should be the default and struggle means something is wrong. That thinking has destroyed more potential than failure ever will. You need to understand this right now. Pressure builds you. Say it again. Pressure builds you. Every strong person you admire, every athlete, every soldier, every entrepreneur, every leader became strong for one reason. They stayed. They held the line. They stood inside the discomfort without running. That's the key. Not talent, not luck, not background, not natural confidence. The ability to stay standing when everything inside you screams, leave, quit, escape. Let me tell you about a runner I once met. He wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, but he became elite because every time his lungs burned and his body begged him to slow down, he said one thing to himself: hold the line. Not go faster, not be perfect, just hold the line. Stay 1 second longer than the old version of yourself would have. That's how mental hardness is built. One moment of pressure at a time. You have a choice. Every time pressure rises, you can run or you can rise. Every time discomfort appears, you can collapse or you can breathe through it. Every time fear shakes your hands, you can freeze or you can take the next step anyway. You don't need anyone's permission to be stronger. You don't need validation from anyone around you to handle pressure better. Strength is not granted to you. Strength is trained. Let me give you another example. A soldier entering elite training learns on day one that pressure is not a threat. It's a filter. The instructors don't care how fast you are when you're fresh. They care who you become when you're exhausted, hungry, cold, and doubting everything. Why? Because pressure reveals truth. Pressure shows your real character. Pressure exposes what you avoid. But here's the miracle. Pressure also builds you into who you must become. Elite soldiers don't succeed because they're superhuman. They succeed because they are willing to stay in the pressure long enough for their weakness to burn away. Stand inside the discomfort without running. That is the entire game. Look at any entrepreneur who has created something meaningful. Behind every success story is a long stretch of pressure, deadlines, rejections, sleepless nights, financial uncertainty. And almost every one of them will tell you the same thing. The moment I wanted to quit the most was right before the breakthrough. Why? Because pressure intensifies right before you level up. right before the old identity collapses, right before the new one emerges. You've been misreading pressure your entire life. You see pressure and think something is wrong. But the truth is, something is working. Something inside you is being reshaped. Something weak is being confronted. Something untrained is being strengthened. Pressure is not a punishment. Pressure is preparation. That's the key. Pressure is preparation. When you feel emotional heat, when you feel stress rising, when you feel overwhelmed, you are not being destroyed. You are being molded. You are inside the forge. You are stepping into the exact conditions where strength is built. But here's where most people fail. They run at the first sign of discomfort. They bail out the moment something becomes difficult. They expect strength without strain, confidence without conflict, resilience without resistance. Life doesn't work that way. And deep down, you already know that. You have a choice. In every moment of pressure, you have a choice. To run or to rise. To fold or to focus. To break or to build. You think you need motivation. You think you need clarity. You think you need perfect conditions. No, you need discipline. It's not about feeling ready. It's about training your mind to stay steady. Let me give you a simple principle you can use today. When pressure rises, slow down your breathing, narrow your focus, and tell yourself, I can hold this. Not escape it, not avoid it, not destroy it, just hold it. Because every second you hold pressure without breaking, you become stronger. Every moment you stay standing when your old self would have collapsed, you grow. Every time you resist the urge to run, you gain power. You don't need the pressure to disappear. You need the courage to stay in it. Pressure builds you. Remember that. Pressure builds you. It builds your patience. It builds your clarity. It builds your identity. It builds your discipline. It builds your threshold for stress. And the more pressure you can handle without breaking, the more life you can hold without fear. Imagine the version of you that doesn't panic at setbacks. Imagine the version of you that doesn't crumble under criticism. Imagine the version of you that sees pressure and says, good, I can use this. That version of you is not far away. It's one choice away, one moment of resistance, one moment of discipline, one moment of holding the line. So the next time pressure hits, pause, breathe, stand still. Tell yourself, this is the moment I get stronger. Because it is. Because it always has been. Pressure is not your enemy. Your emotional fragility is. Train your response. Strengthen your identity. Stand inside the discomfort without running. You just mastered the first lesson of mental hardness. And now it's time to go deeper. Chapter 2. Control your reactions or lose your power. Your life is not controlled by what happens to you. Your life is controlled by how you react to what happens to you. That's the truth people spend their entire lives avoiding. They blame circumstances. They blame timing. They blame other people. They blame stress, doubt, pressure, fear. But the reality is simple. You don't lose because life is unfair. You lose because you react emotionally, impulsively, and automatically. Your reactions have become your biggest enemy. Your reactions have cost you opportunities. Your reactions have ruined relationships. Your reactions have pulled you out of the game long before the outcome was ever decided. You have power, but you keep giving it away. You give it away every time someone irritates you. You give it away every time you get triggered. You give it away every time you explode, shut down, overthink, or panic. Listen carefully. If someone else can control your reaction, they can control your life. That's the key. Reaction control is life control. Right now, your reactions are automatic. They come from old conditioning, old wounds, old patterns, old emotional habits. Someone says something disrespectful, you fire back instantly. Someone doubts you, you get defensive. Someone misunderstands you, you over-explain. Someone rejects you, you shut down and question your worth. These are not choices. These are reflexes. These are conditioned responses. These are habits you never questioned. But here's the thing. Anything automatic can be retrained. Anything learned can be unlearned. And emotional reactions are learned. You have a choice. You always have a choice. You've forgotten that, but it's true. The strongest people in the world aren't the ones. They're the ones who refuse to hand their power away. Let me tell you about a negotiator I studied once. This man dealt with hostage situations, high-stakes deals, volatile people ready to explode at any moment. If you yelled at him, he didn't flinch. If you insulted him, he didn't blink. If you tried to manipulate him, he didn't budge. His secret was simple. He reacted slowly, deliberately, calmly. He understood a truth most people never learn. The first reaction is emotional. The second reaction is intentional. And only the second one leads to strength. That's your new standard. Slow reactions, calm reactions, intentional reactions. You don't need their permission to slow down. You don't need their approval to stay calm. You don't need validation to choose discipline over impulse. It's not about being perfect. It's about being controlled. You've been taught to express yourself, but no one taught you how to manage yourself. You've been taught to be honest, but no one taught you how to be strategic. You've been taught to speak your mind, but no one taught you how to protect your mind from your own reactions. Your emotional reaction is the doorway your weakness walks through. Your controlled response is the doorway your strength walks through. You have to decide which one you are going to live from. Let's break this down into something you can use today. Step 1. Pause for 3 seconds. Just 3 seconds. That's all it takes to interrupt the automatic reaction. 3 seconds to decide, not react. 3 seconds to breathe, not explode. 3 seconds to think, not collapse. That pause is everything, because inside that pause is your power. Inside that pause is your discipline. Inside that pause is the version of you who is unshakable. Step 2. Label the emotion. Not to justify it, not to dramatize it, just to identify it. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling insecurity. I'm feeling triggered. When you name the emotion, you create distance from it. And distance is clarity. Clarity is control. Step 3. Choose action, not reaction. Ask yourself, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? Not the emotional version, not the wounded version, not the impulsive version, the disciplined version. Because that's the real you. The emotional version is your past. The disciplined version is your future. This is how athletes perform under pressure. This is how leaders make decisions during crisis. This is how elite soldiers maintain calm in chaos. Not by being emotionless, but by not obeying their emotions. Remember this. You can feel something without acting on it. That's emotional mastery. That's mental hardness. That's the skill you're developing. Let me give you a real story. A professional basketball player once said that the biggest breakthrough in his career wasn't physical, it was emotional. He learned not to react to fouls, trash talk, bad calls, or hostile crowds. He said, "The moment I stopped reacting, I became unstoppable." Because reaction shows weakness. Response shows strength. You have a choice every moment. You can waste your energy reacting to everything around you, or you can conserve it and use it with precision. Imagine if you only reacted when it mattered. Imagine if your emotions no longer dictated your decisions. Imagine if no one could trigger you, manipulate you, unsettle you, or intimidate you. That's not a fantasy. That's discipline. That's training. That's the path you're on right now. Pressure hits, you stay calm. Criticism hits, you stay neutral. Stress rises, you stay steady. This is how you become the person who doesn't break. Because here's the truth. It's not stress that destroys you. It's not setbacks that destroy you. It's not people that destroy you. It's your reaction to them. That's the enemy. That's what you're eliminating. That's the entire purpose of this chapter. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you reclaim your life. Every time you breathe instead of explode, you regain control. Every time you wait 2 seconds before speaking, you elevate your identity. You don't need their permission to be this person. You don't need anyone to understand why you're choosing discipline over impulse. You don't need applause for becoming stable. You just need consistency. You just need patience. You just need practice. Reaction control is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The weaker your triggers become. The quieter your mind becomes, the more powerful your presence becomes. And here's the final truth you must take with you. People respect the person who doesn't react. People trust the person who stays calm. People follow the person who thinks before speaking. People fear the person who cannot be provoked. That's who you're becoming. You've learned how to stop breaking under pressure. Now you've learned how to stop losing your power through reactions. Both lessons shape the foundation of mental hardness. And now it's time to go deeper. You've controlled the mind's chaos. Now you must train the body's discomfort. Chapter 3. Discomfort is your new training ground. You want strength? You want confidence. You want discipline. You want a mind that doesn't flinch every time life gets difficult. But here's the truth. You cannot build any of that while living in comfort. Comfort has never made anyone powerful. Comfort has never made anyone unbreakable. Comfort has never made anyone mentally hardened. Discomfort is where greatness is built. Discomfort is your new training ground. Discomfort is the forge that burns away weakness and leaves only discipline behind. You need to understand this right now. If you avoid discomfort, you avoid growth. If you avoid discomfort, you avoid strength. If you avoid discomfort, you avoid the person you could be. Most people cling to comfort like a life raft. They chase ease. They worship convenience. They organize their entire lives to avoid friction, tension, challenge, or anything that demands effort. And then they wonder why they fold under pressure. They wonder why they feel anxious, insecure, fragile, overwhelmed. It's simple. When you avoid discomfort, discomfort owns you. That's the key. The discomfort you avoid today becomes the fear you obey tomorrow. Your training begins with a shift in perspective. Discomfort isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It's the environment where you grow. It's the classroom where mental hardness is formed. Look at elite athletes. They train until their muscles scream, their lungs burn, and their body wants to quit. They don't stop because it hurts. They continue because the hurt is the signal that they're climbing. The hurt is the evidence of adaptation. The hurt is the doorway to the next level. You have a choice. You can run from the pain, or you can let the pain build you. Look at entrepreneurs. They stay up late when they're tired. They work through uncertainty. They push through setbacks that would break most people. Not because they enjoy struggle, but because they understand that discomfort is the toll you pay for a life of freedom and impact. Look at soldiers in elite units. Discomfort is not an event. Discomfort is a lifestyle. Cold, heat, hunger, exhaustion, fear. These are training tools, not obstacles. Why? Because every ounce of discomfort makes them more capable, more stable, more adaptable. They don't become strong despite discomfort. They become strong through discomfort.
And you will too, if you stop running from the very thing designed to build you. Let me give you a principle that will rewrite your entire training approach. Stay 1 minute longer. 1 minute longer in the gym, 1 minute longer in the cold, 1 minute longer in the silence, 1 minute longer in the stress, 1 minute longer in the challenge. That 1 minute is where the old you breaks and the new you is born. That's the moment most people escape. That's the moment you will stay. Because discomfort is a tool, a sculptor, a trainer, a mentor, and you're done running from it. Let me tell you a real story. There was a swimmer preparing for a world championship. He said the reason he became a champion wasn't because he swam faster. It was because he trained in colder water, darker pools, and longer sessions than anyone else. He said, when other people got uncomfortable, they slowed down. When I got uncomfortable, I started learning. Read that again. When I got uncomfortable, I started learning. That's the mindset shift you're here to build. You have a choice. Every day you wake up, you have a choice. Do you choose the path that feels good now and hurts later? Or the path that feels hard now and pays off forever? The path of comfort gives you short-term relief and long-term weakness. The path of discomfort gives you short-term challenge and long-term strength. Which one do you want your life to be built on? Here's the truth most people never hear. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your training. And training means discomfort. Training means stepping into what you fear. Training means saying yes to the things your emotions tell you to avoid. Because it's not about comfort, it's about discipline. It's not about feeling ready, it's about becoming ready. It's not about ease, it's about evolution. Your old patterns will resist this. Your mind will scream, "Stop!" Your emotions will say, "This is too much." Your fear will whisper, "This isn't safe." But guess what? You don't need their permission. You don't need your emotions to approve. You don't need fear to agree. Your mind is obsessed with safety. Your discipline is obsessed with growth. Which one are you going to listen to? Let me give you a simple exercise to start right now. Seek one controlled discomfort every day. A cold shower, a difficult conversation, a hard workout, a disciplined hour of focus, a moment of silence with no distractions, waking up earlier than you want to. These micro discomforts build macro strength. These tiny challenges build massive discipline. These daily tests build an identity that does not break. That's the key. Identity. The person who avoids discomfort becomes fragile by identity. The person who embraces discomfort becomes unstoppable by identity. Every time you lean into discomfort, your identity upgrades. Every time you hold the line, your confidence expands. Every time you sit with the discomfort instead of running, you become more dangerous. Stand inside the discomfort without running. Say that to yourself every time you want to quit. That sentence is a weapon. Use it. Imagine this: a version of you who no longer fears discomfort, a version of you who welcomes challenge, a version of you who steps into difficulty because you know it builds you, a version of you who doesn't flinch when life gets heavy. That's who you're becoming. Not tomorrow, not someday, today, now. This chapter marks the shift. Discomfort is no longer a threat. It's a signal. A sign that you are where you should be. A sign that you are training. A sign that growth is happening. From this point forward, when discomfort rises, you don't escape. You don't collapse. You don't negotiate with your fear. You hold. You breathe. You stay. And you grow. Discomfort is your new training ground, and you are ready for it. You've learned how to step into pressure. You've learned how to control your reactions. Now you've learned how to use discomfort to build a stronger you. It's time to deepen that discipline even more. Chapter 5. Detach from emotion before it controls you. You break when emotions run the show. You fall apart when feelings become your decision makers. And you lose progress over and over because you still believe every emotion deserves a reaction. It doesn't. And that's the lesson you're going to master right now. You must learn the skill that separates disciplined people from chaotic people. Emotional detachment. Not numbness, not coldness. Detachment. Detachment means you feel the emotion, but you don't let it drive the car. You think with logic, act with discipline, and respond with intention. You have a choice. Every single day, every moment of pressure, conflict, or chaos is a choice. React emotionally or respond strategically. That's the key. Most people choose reaction. They snap back. They panic. They spiral. They break their routine, break their promise, break their word simply because a feeling showed up. But you're not here to be most people. You're here to become someone who cannot be moved by emotional noise. You're becoming someone with internal stillness, internal clarity, internal leadership. Emotional detachment is not about feeling less. It's about thinking more. Thinking before acting. Thinking before exploding. Thinking before quitting. Because when you detach, you regain the most important advantage a human can have: control of yourself. The reality, emotions lie in the moment. You already know this. You've seen it in your own life. Think about the times you reacted too fast, sent the message you regret, said the words that made things worse, made a decision fueled by embarrassment, anger, jealousy, panic, or fear. Hours later, you realized you didn't even believe what you said. The emotion dissolved, but the damage stayed. That's what happens when emotion leads and discipline follows. You have a choice. You can keep repeating that cycle, or you can learn to detach and let the emotion pass before acting. That's the key. The practical discipline of detachment. This chapter is not about theory. This is about tools, behavior, execution. Here are the 3 skills you will practice until they become automatic. 1. The pause. Train yourself to not react first. Every emotional reaction starts with 0 seconds of thought. That ends today. You are going to build the habit of pausing deliberately every time you feel a surge of emotion. Anger? Pause. Anxiety? Pause. Fear? Pause. Someone disrespects you? Pause. The pause is your power. It creates space between the emotion and the action. That space is where logic lives. That space is where discipline lives. That space is where better decisions are made. Tell yourself, hold the line, think first. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. You have a choice. And the pause is where that choice becomes visible. 2. Name the emotion. Don't become it. This is one of the most effective techniques used by athletes, soldiers, and high-pressure performers. You don't say, "I am angry." You say, "Anger is present." You don't say, "I am scared." You say, "Fear is showing up." When you name the emotion, you step outside it. You detach from it. You create separation between you and the feeling. Because here's the truth. You are not your emotions. You are not your fear. You are not your anger. You are not your insecurity. They are experiences, not identities. You have a choice. Let the emotion define you, or let discipline define you. That's the key. 3. Return to the mission, not the feeling. This is the ultimate move. Every undisciplined person acts based on how they feel. Every disciplined person acts based on what they are committed to. Your mission is your anchor. Your mission is your stability. Your mission is your truth. When emotions rise, the undisciplined ask, "What do I feel like doing?" The disciplined ask,
What does the mission require? It's not about comfort. It's about completion. It's not about the mood. It's about the mandate. It's not about feeling right. It's about doing right. You have a mission, and you don't need your emotions' permission to follow it. That's the key. Real examples of emotional detachment in action. Look at elite soldiers. They face chaos, fear, stress, and danger daily. Yet they operate with calm. They feel everything, but they react to nothing without intention. Look at high-level athletes. Pressure, criticism, exhaustion. None of it is enough to break their focus. They detach from noise and return to fundamentals.
Look at disciplined entrepreneurs. Markets crash. People betray them. Plans fail. But they don't react emotionally. They respond strategically. These people aren't born detached. They train it. They practice it. They choose it. You can do the same. You have the same choice every day. React emotionally or respond with discipline. That's the key. The truth you must accept. Your emotions do not make you weak. Acting on them without thinking does. Your feelings do not destroy your progress. Your reactions do. Your emotions are natural, human, and unavoidable. But letting them control your behavior, that's optional. And you control that option. You have a choice. Every time. Building the new you. From this point forward, your standard changes. You are going to feel the emotion. Pause. Identify it. And act according to the mission, not the mood. This is how disciplined people operate. This is how calm people operate. This is how high-level performers operate. You're not becoming emotionless. You're becoming emotionally disciplined. That's the key. And once you develop this detachment, you become the one thing every strong person becomes: unshakable. People can try to provoke you. Your calm doesn't break. Life can try to derail you. Your mission stays intact. Chaos can surround you, but it cannot enter you. Because discipline protects you. Detachment empowers you. Focus guides you. Ending transition. You've learned to detach from emotions before they take control. You've learned the power of the pause, the clarity of naming your feelings, and the discipline of returning to the mission. Now you're ready for the next step in mental hardness. Chapter 5. Train your mind to stay unavailable to distractions. Distractions are the silent killers of your potential. Not because they are powerful, but because you keep giving them access. Every time you break focus, every time you let someone pull you off your path, every time you allow noise to enter your mind, you weaken your own momentum. You slow down your progress. You dilute your discipline. And the truth is simple. You don't lose to failure. You lose to distraction. You have a choice. Every second of your day. Focus or fragmentation. That's the key. This chapter is about building a mind that is unavailable to distractions, unavailable to drama, unavailable to noise, to anything that doesn't serve the mission. When you master this, you become a different kind of human, calm, locked in, and dangerous. A person with direction. A person without leaks. A person who controls their attention like a weapon. That's what you're going to build right now. The real enemy is access. Distractions don't chase you. You invite them in. You open the notification. You reply to the message. You scroll when you're bored. You check what doesn't matter. You respond to people who don't deserve a response. You give the world permission to interrupt you. Then you wonder why you can't stay focused, why you can't stay disciplined, why your mind is always overloaded. It's because you're available. Available to anyone. Available to everything. Available at any moment. But high performers aren't available. They're selective. They're intentional. They protect their attention like a vault. You must do the same. You have a choice. To continue to be reachable by distraction, or become unreachable without discipline. That's the key. Understanding the cost of distraction. You lose more than time when you're distracted. You lose identity. You lose intensity. You lose clarity. Every distraction resets your mind. It forces your brain to switch contexts. It drains energy you could have invested into something meaningful. There is a rule every disciplined person lives by. What you allow into your mind shows up in your results. If you allowed noise, your results become noisy. If you allow drama, your life becomes dramatic. If you allow randomness, your progress becomes random. If you allow discipline, your life becomes disciplined. You have a choice. That's the key. The 3 tools of mental unavailability. This chapter gives you 3 tactical tools to train your mind into a fortress. Impenetrable, focused, and consistent. These tools are simple, practical, and repeatable. They work because they force your attention to serve your purpose. Let's break them down. 1. Audit your access points. Every distraction enters through a door you left open. Your job is to close those doors. Ask yourself, what has access to my attention that hasn't earned it? Look at your environment. Look at your apps. Look at your habits. Look at your relationships. Who messages you and instantly pulls you out of focus? What platforms do you open automatically without thinking? Which people drain your energy with their chaos? Which habits steal minutes that turn into hours? You cannot control every distraction in the world, but you can control your access points. The disciplined person filters everything. The undisciplined person filters nothing. You have a choice. That's the key. 2. Create non-negotiable focus blocks. Discipline is not about motivation. It's about structure. You must create protected time where nothing enters your mental space. No noise. No notifications.
No conversations. No interruptions. Call them what they are: non-negotiable focus blocks. This is the time where your brain learns to perform under silence, where your mind adapts to deep work, where you rebuild your ability to concentrate for long stretches. Start small, 30 minutes, then 45, then 60, then longer. Your mind will resist at first. Your feelings will complain. That's normal. That's expected. But remember, it's not about the feeling. It's about the discipline. That's the key. 3. Disengage without explaining. Here is a skill that separates the average from the elite. You do not owe an explanation when you're protecting your focus. You don't need to justify your silence. You don't need to explain your boundaries. You don't need to defend your discipline. If someone asks why you're unavailable, the answer is simple: because I'm working. That's it. No story, no apology. People will adjust. They always do. When you become less available, you force the world to treat your time with respect. You force people to step back. You teach them how to interact with you. The less available you are to distraction, the more available you become to your mission. You have a choice. That's the key. The internal shift you must make. The undisciplined mind believes focus is a feeling. I'll focus when I feel ready. The disciplined mind understands focus is a decision. I focus because it's required. You do not wait for clarity. You create it. You do not wait for silence. You enforce it. Your mission matters too much to be constantly interrupted. Your future deserves more than divided attention. Your goals require a version of you that refuses to be pulled everywhere. This is the standard now. You choose your inputs, you choose your environment, you choose your access. You have a choice every day, every moment. That's the key. Why this makes you powerful. When your mind becomes unavailable to distraction, you think deeper, you move faster, you make better decisions, you eliminate chaos, you increase discipline effortlessly. Most importantly, you train your nervous system to operate in focused states. This is what separates high-level performers from everyone else. Not talent, not luck. Focus. Focus is the multiplier of every skill you have. When distraction loses access to your mind, your potential becomes exponential. You become sharper, calmer, more dangerous, more intentional, more capable. And people will notice. They always notice the person who is unmoved by noise. Ending transition. You've learned how to make your mind unavailable to distraction. You've learned how to control access, protect your time, and elevate your standards. Now it's time for the next layer of mental hardness, the discipline of staying calm in the chaos.
Chapter 6. Master the art of staying calm when everything goes wrong. Chaos doesn't break you. Your reaction to chaos does. Every setback, every crisis, every unexpected problem, none of it has the power to destroy you unless you hand that power over. And most people do. They panic, they rush, they crumble under pressure. Not because the situation is impossible, but because they never learned how to stay calm in the middle of the storm. Today, that changes. Today, you build the ability that turns ordinary people into leaders. Today, you learn the art of staying calm when everything goes wrong. This is not a talent. This is not luck. This is not personality. This is discipline, a trained behavior, a mental skill you choose every single time. And you have a choice: panic or presence, chaos or clarity, reaction or leadership. That's the key. The truth no one wants to admit. You can't stop problems. You can't stop setbacks. You can't stop uncertainty. Life does not warn you before it hits you. It does not give you time to prepare. It strikes without asking your permission. But here's the truth. Calm is not the absence of chaos. Calm is control inside chaos. Most people think calm comes from life getting easier. It doesn't. Calm comes from you getting stronger. Chaos reveals your training. Crisis reveals your discipline. Pressure exposes your emotional habits. And that's why staying calm is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Because when everyone else loses their head, the calm one leads. You have a choice. And that's the key. The science of calm under pressure. Your brain only operates in two modes during crisis. 1. Survival mode. 2. Strategic mode. Survival mode is panic, racing thoughts, tunnel vision, emotional chaos. Strategic mode is calm, slow thinking, clear perception, controlled responses. Most people default to survival mode because they've never practiced staying calm. They've never trained their mind to hold steady when the ground shakes. But you will. This chapter gives you the tools. Tool number 1. Slow yourself down on purpose. Chaos speeds up everything. Your heart rate, your thoughts, your breathing, your movements. That's why the first tactic is simple. You slow down intentionally. You breathe slower. You speak slower. You move slower. This sends a signal to your brain. We are not in danger. We are in control. You can do this anywhere. In an argument, in a crisis, during a mistake, during a failure, during a setback. Slow is smooth. Smooth becomes calm. Calm becomes clarity. You have a choice: speed or control. That's the key. Tool number 2. Talk to yourself, not your fears. In chaos, your mind creates stories, catastrophic stories, worst-case scenario stories, stories built by fear, not facts. You must interrupt that noise with your own voice. Direct, clear, unemotional. Tell yourself, hold the line. Stay here. This is solvable. Slow down, one step at a time. This is not positive thinking. This is tactical self-command. You are asserting leadership over your mind. That internal voice becomes your anchor. It keeps you in reality. It stops the emotional spiral. It keeps your brain in strategic mode. You have a choice. Follow the fear or lead yourself. That's the key. Tool number 3. Shrink the moment. Chaos feels overwhelming because you focus on everything at once. The whole problem, the whole crisis, the whole situation. It becomes too big to hold, so it crushes you. The disciplined mind breaks chaos into pieces. One step, one decision, one action, one problem at a time. You shrink the moment. You look only at the next move, not the whole mountain, just the next foothold. This is how soldiers operate under fire. This is how surgeons operate under pressure. This is how leaders operate in crisis. Not by doing everything, by doing the next right thing. You have a choice. Be overwhelmed or be strategic. That's the key. Tool number 4. Remove emotion from the decision. When everything is going wrong, emotion becomes your enemy. Fear exaggerates. Anger blinds. Stress distorts. Panic paralyzes. That's why you detach your feelings from the decision. You ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't emotional right now? That question creates instant clarity, instant separation, instant logic. Because the difference between a good decision and a disaster is simple. Emotion leads the first. Discipline leads the second. You don't need your emotions' permission to act. You need discipline. You have a choice. That's the key. Tool number 5. Accept what is so you can fix what can be. Chaos becomes heavier when you resist it, when you deny it, when you emotionally fight reality. The calm person does something different. They accept the situation quickly, not in weakness, in readiness. Acceptance removes emotional resistance. Resistance drains your energy. Acceptance allows you to use your energy to solve the problem. You cannot fix what you refuse to face, but once you accept it, you regain power. You have a choice. Deny or deal. That's the key. What calm looks like in real life. Real calm isn't dramatic. It isn't silent meditation. It isn't spiritual language. Calm looks like this. You don't raise your voice. You don't rush your decisions. You don't say the first emotional thing that comes to mind. You don't match other people's panic. You don't let fear decide your next move. Calm is a posture, a standard, a form of self-respect. People trust the calm one. People follow the calm one. People fear the calm one. Because calm is control, and control is power. You have a choice. That's the key. The new standard. From now on, your standard is simple. When everything goes wrong, you do not. You stay grounded. You stay intentional. You stay strategic. You stay disciplined. This is how strong people move. This is how leaders move. This is how you will move. Chaos is not your enemy. Your panic is. But now you have tools. You've trained your calm. You've strengthened your presence. You've built your inner stillness. You're becoming hard to shake, hard to overwhelm, hard to break. That's the key. Ending transition. You've mastered staying calm when everything collapses around you. But calm is only the beginning. Now it's time to build the discipline that separates those who succeed from those who crumble. Chapter 7. Stop negotiating with yourself and execute. You know exactly why you break your own momentum. You negotiate, you bargain, you debate, you stall. You let your feelings sit at the same table as your discipline, and every time your feelings win. This chapter is where that ends, because mentally strong people don't negotiate with themselves. They execute. They decide. They commit. They follow through even when they don't feel like it. You have a choice. Be controlled by your emotions or be driven by your commitments. That's the key. The internal negotiation in your mind is the single greatest source of your inconsistency. And if you don't kill that negotiation,
It will kill your progress. The truth about negotiation with yourself. When you tell yourself, "I'll start in 5 minutes," you lose. When you say, "Maybe I'll do it later," you lose. When you argue with your own goals, when you search for comfort, when you try to make discipline feel easier, you lose. The internal negotiation isn't harmless, it is sabotage. It is self-betrayal in slow motion. It is death by hesitation. And you know this. You've lived it. Every dream you delayed was delayed because you negotiated. Every habit you broke was broken because you negotiated. Every standard you failed to uphold failed because you negotiated. You have a choice. That's the key. The difference between the weak and the disciplined. Weak people do what they feel like doing. Disciplined people do what they said they would do. Weak people need motivation. Disciplined people need responsibility. Weak people ask, "Do I want to?" Disciplined people ask, "Is it required?" Weak people break routines. Disciplined people break excuses. Every chapter so far has built up to this moment. This is where mental hardness becomes visible. This is where you stop acting from emotion and start acting from identity. Your identity is simple. You are someone who follows through. Not sometimes, not when convenient, every time. You have a choice. That's the key. The internal war, voice 1 versus voice 2. Inside you are two voices. Voice 1, the voice of discipline, the voice that wants growth, progress, strength, and consistency. Voice 2, the voice of negotiation, the voice that wants comfort, shortcuts, softness, and delay. Every day, one voice wins. Every day, you decide which one gets stronger. The problem is simple. Most people spend years feeding the wrong voice. They reward hesitations. They reward excuses. They reward emotional thinking. And eventually, they become someone who cannot rely on themselves. But not you. Not anymore. In this chapter, you take back control. You stop listening to the voice that weakens you. You strengthen the voice that builds you. You have a choice. That's the key. The 3 rules of non-negotiable execution. You are going to learn 3 rules that every disciplined person lives by. These rules turn action into a habit and consistency into a lifestyle. Rule number 1. Decisions are made once. Disciplined people make a decision one time and they honor it with action every day. You decide to train, so you train. You decide to work, so you work. You decide to improve, so you improve. You don't reopen the decision. You don't reevaluate based on emotion. You don't renegotiate because you're tired or bored. The undisciplined wake up each morning asking, "Do I feel like it?" The disciplined wake up saying, "I already decided." You have a choice. That's the key. Rule number 2. Feelings don't get a vote. Your feelings are welcome to exist, but they don't get to decide. You can feel tired and still execute. You can feel unmotivated and still execute. You can feel overwhelmed and still execute. Execution is a behavior, not an emotion. It's not about feeling ready. It's about being responsible. Every time you execute despite your feelings, you weaken the internal negotiator.
Every time you bend to emotion, you strengthen it. Ask yourself, is it about the feeling or is it about the discipline? You already know the answer. That's the key. Rule number 3, talk less, act more. The more you talk, the more you negotiate. The more you think, the more you hesitate. The more you analyze, the more you delay. Disciplined people collapse the gap between intention and action. They shorten the distance between deciding and doing. That's the real meaning of execution. Action first, emotion second. You don't need more time. You need less negotiation. You need to stop giving the internal weak voice space to influence your decisions. You have a choice. That's the key. Real examples of non-negotiable execution. Look at elite performers. Soldiers execute orders despite fear, because hesitation can cost lives, because negotiation can get someone killed. Athletes execute routines despite exhaustion, because performance doesn't wait for mood, because discipline beats talent. Entrepreneurs execute decisions despite uncertainty, because action builds momentum, because negotiation builds regret. None of these people felt ready. They acted, and the action built readiness. That's the formula. That's the standard. You have a choice. That's the key. The internal shift. Who you become now. From this moment forward, you will operate differently. You do what is required. You do not debate with yourself. You do not delay. You do not negotiate. You execute. This is the version of you you've needed all along. Clear, direct, uncompromising, consistent, relentless. This is the version of you that builds momentum. This is the version of you that achieves goals. This is the version of you that becomes mentally unbreakable. Execution is your new identity. Discipline is your new standard. Consistency is your new power. You have a choice, and now you know how to choose correctly. That's the key. Ending transition. You've eliminated negotiation. You've chosen execution. Now it's time to take that same intensity and attack your next weakness. Your relationship with discomfort. Chapter 8. Build the discipline of consistency. Consistency is not glamorous. Consistency is not exciting. Consistency won't get you applause, but consistency will build a life you barely recognize. Consistency will turn an average person into a weapon. Consistency is the real separator, not talent, not intelligence, not luck. You think you're failing because you're not good enough, but the truth is simpler. You don't stay long enough. You don't hold the line. You don't repeat the behaviors long enough for the results to appear. Remember this, anybody can start. Almost nobody stays. And that's the key. Every chapter you've heard so far leads into this one, because discipline means nothing without repetition. Mental strength means nothing without follow-through. Emotional control means nothing if you collapse the moment life becomes boring. You want your life to change? Then build a consistency that doesn't care about mood. You have a choice, and it's time to start using it. You think motivation will save you. It won't. Motivation is loud, messy, and unreliable. Consistency is quiet, stable, and brutal. Consistency doesn't ask how you feel. Consistency doesn't wait for inspiration. Consistency is a contract you sign with yourself. And you sign it every single day. That's the key. How do people win? Not with one big moment. Not with some miracle breakthrough. Not with some special secret only successful people know. They win because they repeat the same boring, disciplined actions on days nobody's watching. The soldier becomes deadly because he trains when he's exhausted. The athlete becomes elite because she practices the fundamentals longer than anyone else. The entrepreneur becomes unstoppable because he keeps building when everyone else gets distracted. Pressure builds you. Consistency shapes you. Discipline protects you. You want a powerful life? Stack small wins, daily, relentlessly, quietly. This is the truth most people refuse to accept. Your future is built in the moments you think don't matter. Your future is shaped by the days you want to quit, but don't. Your future grows in the hours nobody sees. Consistency is the seed. Your results are the harvest. But here's your real problem. You attach emotions to everything. You attach emotions to effort. You attach emotions to discipline. You attach emotions to routine. You tell yourself, I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. I'll do it tomorrow. But hear me clearly. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to do it. That's the key. Consistency is not emotional. It's mechanical. Commit, show up, repeat, again, and again, and again. The more you repeat, the more your identity changes. The more your identity changes, the stronger your discipline becomes. And suddenly, consistency isn't something you force, it's something you embody. But it starts with one rule. Stop negotiating with yourself. You don't negotiate your toothbrush. You don't negotiate breathing. You don't negotiate going to work. These things are automatic. Make your discipline automatic. Make your rituals automatic. Make your growth
Non-negotiable. You have a choice. Choose repetition over excuses. Choose discipline over mood. Choose consistency over chaos. Let's break it down into behaviors you must follow. 1. Keep your promises small but sacred. Don't promise yourself an hour a day at first. Promise 10 minutes, but make those 10 minutes unbreakable. Small promises create massive identity shifts. 2. Track your streaks, not your speed. The goal isn't to become exceptional in one day. The goal is to never miss 2 days in a row. Momentum is the real engine. 3. Build systems that work even on your worst days. Your life shouldn't collapse when you're tired. Your habits shouldn't disappear when you're stressed. Design routines that survive pressure. 4. Remove the emotional debate. When it's time to work, work. When it's time to train, train. When it's time to focus, focus. No questions, no story, no drama. 5. Embrace boredom. Boredom is not a problem. Boredom is a sign you're finally consistent. Boredom means the discipline has become part of you. Most people run from boredom. That's why they run from greatness. Consistency is quiet discipline. Consistency is long-term power. Consistency is how you build a life nobody can take from you. Every day you show up, you build a deeper level of self-respect. Every day you honor your commitment, you strengthen your identity. Every day you follow your system, you become the kind of person others can't keep up with. Because here's the truth. The world is full of talented quitters. But consistent people, they're rare. They're dangerous. They're unstoppable. You don't need permission to become consistent. You don't need motivation. You don't need inspiration. You need discipline. You need repetition. You need a decision. And you have a choice. Today, right now,
to build a level of consistency that will change the rest of your life. This chapter is your wake-up call. Consistency is not optional. Consistency is mandatory. Consistency is your foundation for every other transformation in this book. Hold the line. Repeat the work. Build the identity. Become the person who doesn't quit. You mastered silence in the last chapter. Now you've built the power of consistency. Next, let's unlock the skill that will multiply your discipline. Chapter 9. Train your mind like a warrior. Strength doesn't start in the body. Strength starts in the mind. Before a warrior ever masters the sword, he masters himself. Before he ever faces the enemy outside, he defeats the enemy within. That enemy is your doubt, your fear, your hesitation, your excuses, your emotional storms. A warrior doesn't wait for the battle to begin his training. He prepares long before the enemy shows up. And that's your mistake. You wait until life collapses before you start working on your mind. You wait until pressure hits. You wait until emotions spike. You wait until the crisis arrives. You have a choice. Stop waiting. Start training. That's the key. Warrior training is not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's repetition. It's discipline. It's mental conditioning built in the shadows. A warrior sharpens the mind through controlled exposure to discomfort. Because the mind only grows when it is challenged, only strengthens when it is stressed, only evolves when it is pushed. Pressure builds you. Challenge grows you. Repetition hardens you. You want a warrior mind? Stop avoiding the difficult. Stop running from the uncomfortable. Stop protecting your weaknesses. A warrior does the opposite. He hunts his weaknesses. He looks them in the eye. He refuses to let them live another day. Here's the truth. Most people try to build a strong life with a weak mind. They want confidence without confrontation. They want growth without struggle. They want strength without sacrifice. But that's not how warriors are made. A warrior in training puts himself through intentional hardship, not to suffer, but to sharpen, not to punish, but to prepare. He wakes up earlier than necessary to condition his will. He pushes his body to strengthen his mind. He says no to temptations to reinforce self-control. He practices silence to master his emotional impulses. He chooses discomfort to build mental armor. This is how warriors are forged, in small, daily acts of discipline
that nobody sees. You have a choice. You can adopt this way of living, or keep breaking every time life hits you. Now let's get practical. Here are the core elements of a warrior-trained mind, the behaviors you must build. 1. Stress rehearsal. Condition the mind before the storm. A warrior doesn't wait for chaos. He rehearses it. This means exposing yourself to controlled pressure. Cold showers, hard workouts, early mornings, stretching your limits on purpose. Why? Because discomfort teaches your mind a simple truth. I can handle more than I think. Stress rehearsal is your training ground. It hardens your nervous system. It stabilizes your emotions.
It teaches your brain not to panic at the first sign of pressure. Hold the line. Stand inside the discomfort. That's the key. 2. Battle awareness. Audit your weak thoughts. A warrior monitors his mind like a soldier scans the battlefield. He doesn't react blindly. He observes, he assesses, he responds with discipline, not emotion. Your thoughts are not commands. They are signals, and you must learn to separate the noise from the truth. When fear rises, you say, "Noted." When doubt whispers, you say, "I hear you." When excuses appear, you say, "You're not in charge." Awareness is the first layer of power. The mind can be trained, but only if you're awake enough to notice what it's doing. 3. Controlled response. Emotionless execution. A warrior never reacts fast. He responds slow, intentionally, precisely. This is where discipline takes over, because you don't need to act on emotion. You don't need to follow every impulse. You don't need to obey your moods. You have a choice, and this is the choice. Execute the plan no matter how you feel. The world respects the person who moves with calm intention, not the person who panics, not the person who reacts, not the person who breaks. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation. You need discipline. That's the key. 4. Mental endurance. Stay in the fight longer than others can. A warrior wins because he outlasts the enemy. And your enemy is distraction. Your enemy is emotion. Your enemy is inconsistency. Mental endurance means you don't quit at the first discomfort. You don't escape when things get boring. You don't run from the grind. You hold the line. You breathe. You stay. Longevity is a superpower. Consistency is a weapon. Endurance is your advantage. Most people tap out mentally long before they ever reach their real limit. Not because they're weak, but because they've never trained themselves to stay. Train yourself to stay. 5. Ritualistic discipline. Build the warrior identity. A warrior is defined by ritual. He does not rely on motivation. He relies on structure. Bed made, workout done, mind trained, routine followed. These rituals create a warrior identity. An identity drives behavior more than emotion ever will. When your identity is strong, quitting feels wrong. When your identity is strong, weakness feels foreign. When your identity is strong, discipline feels natural. You have a choice. Build the identity. Build the rituals. Build the life. Now listen carefully. A warrior mind is not about aggression. It's about clarity, stillness, focus, unshakable presence. The warrior mind is calm in chaos, cold under pressure, sharp when others are confused, disciplined when others fall apart. This is what you're training for. Not to be loud, not to be intimidating, but to be unmovable. Because the world will test you. People will try to pull you off your path. Life will hit you when you're not ready. But warriors don't need perfect conditions. Warriors don't need guarantees. Warriors don't need comfort. Warriors rely on preparation, repetition, inner stability. You're not preparing for an easy life. You're preparing for a strong mind. You mastered consistency in the last chapter. Now you've trained your mind like a warrior. Next, we go deeper into the most misunderstood element of discipline. Chapter 10. Master the art of delayed gratification. There is one final skill that separates the strong from the weak. One final discipline that decides whether you rise or stay exactly where you are. One final test that determines whether you're building a life or just chasing moments. Delayed gratification.
This is the quiet superpower, the invisible advantage, the thing most people fail at every single day. Because most people are addicted to now. They want the reward now, the pleasure now, the comfort now, the recognition now. They sacrifice the future for the feeling of the moment. They destroy long-term peace for short-term relief. They trade the life they could have built for the life their impulses demand. But you're not here to be like most people. You're here to become unbreakable. And an unbreakable person does one thing better than anyone around them. They wait. They hold. They delay. They choose the long game. You have a choice, and this chapter will show you exactly how to choose the future over the moment, every single time. Delayed gratification is not natural. Your brain wants the easy path. Your emotions want the fast reward. Your impulses crave the quick hit of satisfaction. But your future, your potential, your strength, they depend on your ability to delay. Understand this: discipline is the bridge between desire and achievement, and delayed gratification is the steel that holds that bridge together. When you delay the reward, you train your mind to operate like a leader. When you delay the reward, you develop emotional control. When you delay the reward, you build the one thing this entire audiobook has prepared you for: mental hardness. Let's break this down into what truly matters. There are 3 pillars of delayed gratification that you must master. 1. Control the impulse, the battle of the first 10 seconds. Every bad decision starts with an impulse. Every break in discipline begins with the same pattern. You feel something, you want something, you react without thinking. That's the cycle. Your job is to break it. The battle happens in the first 10 seconds. Those 10 seconds decide whether you stay weak or become strong. Those 10 seconds decide whether you're controlled by emotion or controlled by discipline. You have a choice. Pause, breathe, observe the impulse, name the impulse, and refuse to act until the emotion passes. You don't need their permission. You don't need to follow the urge. You don't need to satisfy the craving. You need discipline. That's the key. 2. Choose the future over the feeling. Trade the moment for the mission. Your life is built on trades. Every action is an exchange. You trade comfort for progress. You trade pleasure for purpose. You trade distraction for focus. The weak person trades the future for the emotion of the moment. The strong person does the opposite. The strong person protects the mission. The strong person protects the vision. The strong person protects who they are becoming. Delayed gratification is the art of remembering who you want to be, especially when who you are right now wants an easier choice. Every time you delay a pleasure, you strengthen the identity of a disciplined person. Every time you delay a reward, you invest in your future self. Every time you delay comfort, you sharpen the blade of your mental toughness. You have a choice. Choose your future, not your feelings. 3. Build rituals that make waiting automatic. Discipline without decision. The strongest people don't rely on willpower. They rely on structure. They build rituals so powerful that discipline becomes automatic. Wake up at the same time. Train at the same time. Work at the same time. Review your goals at the same time. This is the masterclass of discipline. And it's not for everyone, but you must master it. Because while the person next to you is chasing quick satisfaction, ground yourself in patience. While they run for a few months and give up because there is no instant reward, you build the identity of the person who stays disciplined. And while they live in this instant gratification philosophy, you go deeper. This is the power of conflict mastery. But you can't stop there.
A ritualized life eliminates the need for constant decision-making. And when the decisions vanish, so does the temptation. That's the secret. Don't fight your impulses with emotion. Replace them with a system. When your life is structured, your discipline is protected. When your day is organized, your mind is stable. When your habits are locked in, your future is guaranteed. You don't need motivation. You need rituals. Rituals that make waiting normal. Rituals that make patience effortless. Rituals that make sacrifice a part of your identity. That's how warriors live, and you are becoming one. Now, understand the real message of this chapter. Delayed gratification is not about denying yourself pleasure forever. It's not about punishment. It's not about deprivation. It's about earning what you receive. Not settling for cheap satisfaction. Not accepting temporary comfort at the cost of permanent regret. You delay now so you can enjoy more later. You sacrifice now so you can live free later. You endure now so you can become unstoppable later. This is the mindset of the unbreakable. This is the mindset of the disciplined. This is the mindset of the person you are becoming. Before we close this audiobook, I want you to hear this clearly. You are no longer someone who breaks under pressure. You are no longer someone who reacts to emotion. You are no longer someone who collapses at the first sign of discomfort. You have built pressure tolerance. You have built emotional detachment. You have built discipline through repetition. You have built mental toughness through silence. You have built the warrior mind. And now you have built the patience required to hold your future steady. Delayed gratification is your final weapon. Use it wisely. Use it relentlessly. Use it daily. You have a choice, and now you have the strength to choose correctly. You mastered the long game. Now let's close this audiobook with force, with clarity, and with conviction. This is your final message, your final reminder, your final challenge. You know what to do. You know who you must become, and you know the path that gets you there. Delay the comfort, delay the pleasure, delay the easy reward, and build the life that lasts. This was the final chapter. You're ready for the ending. You're ready for the challenge. Let's finish this strong. You have just completed the training. You now understand that pressure doesn't break you. Your old patterns did. You now know that emotional control is your true power, that discomfort is your training ground, and that discipline, not motivation, is what carries you through the days you want to quit. You've learned to detach from impulse, to challenge the lies your mind tells you, and to stay neutral when others panic. You've learned that strength is built in private, that identity shapes resilience, and that a calm mind combined with a disciplined body makes you unstoppable. But all of this means nothing if you don't act. So here is your challenge. Starting today, live as the person who does not break. Hold the line when it gets hard. Stay calm when chaos rises. Finish what you start. Choose discipline over emotion, and become the person you came here to be, the person who never breaks.